name is Rachel, and we will be going through the theory of psychosocial development by Erik Erikson. So who is Erik Erikson? He's actually a very famous psychologist and psychoanalyst. He's most famous for his theory of psychosocial development. He was known for establishing the famous term identity crisis. I personally see how he might have come up with this crisis theory, because in his own life, he struggled with his identity. He wasn't sure who his father was. His mother was an immigrant. She had a lot of issues as far as having a baby out of wedlock. When she did finally get married, his mom and her new husband told Erikson that was his dad, and then when he was older, they revealed to him that it's not his actual father. So he went through a bit of his own identity crisis, which he says seemed to have helped when he actually changed his surname to Erikson as opposed to Hamburger. So he came up with his own identity, and he seems to have come over some of his hurdles. The theory itself of psychosocial development essentially states that we as adults go through several psychological development stages as we go from infants to adults. So his theory is a little bit different from others, and that it puts emphasis on our whole life up from birth until death, as opposed to just when we're very young. He says that during these stages, we can go through certain crises that are either positive or negative, and then they'll affect our personality accordingly. If you fail to go through a stage, or if a stage is squelched, it will affect your personality. It'll affect you from going further into your other stages, and it can hinder your personality. He says that it is able to fix them, to go back, to improve on yourself, but that we all go through these stages. So his first stage is of trust and mistrust. This is going to be for children going right from birth up until about 1.5 years old. Right now we're learning, is the world a safe place? Is it dangerous? If I cry, is someone going to come for me? In this stage, they are feeling, am I secure in my surroundings, or should I feel insecure? Should I be an anxious person? So a child is screaming in their crib. Is their caregiver going to come and comfort them, or are they going to be left there crying, is what comes to my mind. So when children are cared for properly and consistently, they will go through this stage with a positive effect. They'll move on to their next phase. If they receive inconsistent care, if someone's not around for them, they can have issues with their personality. They can become really insecure, and they just feel like their life is unpredictable, that people are unreliable, and it can affect their quality of relationships with others later in life. The next stage is autonomy versus shame and doubt. This is going to be for children going through the ages of about 18 months up to 3 years. This stage, children are becoming more mobile. They're learning how to walk, maybe how to play with toys, how to put on clothes, those different sorts of things, how to maybe put on shoes. So these skills are showing that a child is trying to become independent. So through this stage, it's really important for children to be able to try to do these things and fail. And their parents learn that failure is okay. There's just a fine line to walk between letting your child try until they maybe ask for help, and that you can help them, but don't ever do things for them, then they feel like they can't do anything for themselves. And then if you, let's say, come back at them and saying, discourage them in any way, that can have an effect on them as well. So it's that fine line between them being able to have a sense of self-control, being able to do things on their own, and not losing any self-esteem. If an issue arises in this stage, they can have lack of self-esteem, just a sense of doubt in their abilities as people. They can just feel really inadequate. The next stage is called initiative versus guilt. This is happening in the really, really rapidly developing years of a child's life. Sometimes parents can see this as like an aggressive stage. Right now, kids are maybe going to other schools. They're maybe starting to come into contact with many other children to play. So in this stage, they might be coming up with games, sort of exploring their interpersonal skills. They'll initiate activities with others. So right now they're learning, are they more of a leader or more of a follower, I would say is this stage. So if this part of their development is hindered, they're going to feel more of, oh, you know what, I'm a nuisance. Maybe I shouldn't ask all those questions of my parents. Maybe I shouldn't learn these things. Maybe I shouldn't take initiative to start a game. And they're going to become a really quiet person, more of a follower. They can feel really guilt, like, oh, I'm being annoying. They're going to be that person who maybe says sorry a bunch of times. That's this stage. So right now they're learning their source of purpose. And then we go on to the fourth stage, which is industry versus inferiority. Right now, they'll be learning how to read, how to write, maybe do math. They definitely have a lot of contact with teachers. So whether that's an actual teacher or if like a parent is teaching them. And as well as their peer group, maybe their friends, people they meet at school, are a major source of that child's self-esteem. So they're going to feel like they need to win approval of whatever that is by fitting in. They want to feel, okay, am I athletic? Am I smart? They want to fit into the society depending on whatever competency that society says is important. So if they're on a team, maybe they want to be athletic, they want to be that person for their team. And if they aren't able to meet that sense of self, then they're going to feel a sense of inferiority. They're going to feel like they're small. So you don't want them to go overboard with it because you want them to, be modest. So walking that line between being competent, being confident, and also having modesty is a big factor for this phase. The next one we're going to go through is stage 5, which is identity versus role confusion. So right now the child is getting much older. They're about to enter adulthood, not quite there, about 12 to 18 years old. They're learning about how to be independent, what they want their own lives to look like in the future. What career do they want? What kind of relationships do they want with other people? Where do they want to live? That type of thing. Where they want to belong in society and how they are going to fit into that role. So right now, people are trying to re-examine their identity from when they were a younger child. Now they're growing up and they're becoming a different person. So right now they're also going through a lot of changes. Maybe their body looks really different as they go from child to adult, and it can just take the mind a while to catch up to those changes. So Erikson does say that there can be some confusion and some trouble during this time. Maybe adolescents will feel uncomfortable about the way that they look, and that they will sort of grow into these changes. And that this stage leads to the virtue of fidelity, being able to commit themselves to others, accept others, even if there are differences among us. The next stage is going to be intimacy versus isolation. So this is quite a large stage. The majority, I would say, of your adulthood is about 18 to 40 years old. You're learning about relationships. You're learning to form relationships with other people rather than just your family, people outside of your family group. So they're going to share themselves maybe more intimately with others. They're going to learn how to be committed, how to be safe in a relationship, how to care about other people besides themselves and besides their family members. And people who avoid this stage or are afraid of love or afraid of commitment can lead to a feeling of isolation and loneliness. And as we move on to the the 7th stage, generativity versus stagnation. This is when people are about 40 to 65 years old. They're maybe starting to retire, coming towards the end of their careers. They want to look back and say, wow, I've really committed to my community. I've made a mark. I'm important. What I'm doing is important. A monkey couldn't just come in and do my job. They're sort of making their mark on the world. They care about their community. They want their communities to care about them. They want to feel like they're important. They don't want to leave their work industry or their field and feel like it was all, for nothing. And then leading off of that, onto our final stage, is ego, integrity versus despair. This is about ages 65 to the end of life. You want to be able to look back and say, you know what, I had a great life. I was able to do the things that I wanted to do. I feel like I made a mark. I'm okay with my life as it is. I feel productive. I don't feel guilt about my past. I feel like I accomplished my life goals. I feel satisfied. If someone doesn't feel this way, maybe something's happened in their past, they can't quite get over something, they're going to have issues here. They're going to maybe feel depression, they're going to feel hopelessness. They're not so young anymore, there's not a ton of time to change things. So this is that part where they're trying to become okay with themselves. It's coming towards the end. You feel like your life has been balanced. And once you can look back and you can say, okay, yeah, my life was complete, then that leads to the virtue of having wisdom. They can pass on their knowledge. They can pass on without the fear of death. So that is all of his theory as it goes through his life. Just a quick evaluation of it. It's a fantastic tool. I think it's interesting that it's just different from other theories, that it goes throughout our entire life. There's not a ton of other theories that are like that. And it really gives meaning to all of our life stages. It's not just saying, okay, yeah, there are life stages when you're older, but they're not as important. It really says that all of the stages are important, regardless of age. He doesn't go into too much detail about how or why we move through the stages, how you can have yourself progress through stages. He himself said it's more of a tool or a guide rather than some sort of factual analysis that is, very set in stone and that is the end-all be-all. But I think it's a really great tool. It's a really great guide. A lot of people agree with it. I think even myself, as I read through it, I could go back and say, yeah, you know what, that happened to me. Or yeah, I can see myself going through that stage. Oh, my parents were really great when I was younger, so I must have done great on that stage, or what have you. So I feel like a lot of people agree with that. A lot of people think that it's really interesting, and they can connect with it. So I hope you enjoyed. I think it's really interesting. Read up about him. It's a fantastic theory. Have a great day.